Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. My guests tonight are writers Laura Hudson and Tim Leong, whose fantastic Mad Cave book, Exploit, had issue 2 come out yesterday. I love this book. It was on my radar, and like I like to tell people how I came to books. It was on my radar because I'm always a sucker for a good journalism book. So it hit my radar to begin with. But then Spencer Ackerman plugged it in his newsletter, and I will read anything that Spencer Ackerman tells me to read, particularly if it's a comic.
Thanks, Spencer.
Um, and then he was kind enough to hook me up with the two of you, so I get to talk to you. So thank you, Spencer, twice over. First for getting me to move this book even higher on my stack, and second for like connecting us so that I can talk to these people that I've been laughing with out of the gate for like 15, 20 minutes before we went, oh, wait, we should hit that record button.
It's true, just dropping gems nonstop. This is also I'm Laura, by the way, of course in case you couldn't guess that. But I also appreciate this opportunity because you're the first person maybe I have talked to who has read the book who is not a member of the team.
Oh,
So that's interesting. Not that this needs to be me interviewing you, but like I
well,
am curious at some point about your reactions to it.
I love it. I love it. I
I'm like,
mean,
I'm like, be
that's
more specific. Like
that
what?
no, that's going to come out more in questions I ask, I'm certain. Where I like to actually start is one of you give me the counter pitch. Not the elevator pitch. Those are short and to get somebody to let you publish it. The front counter pitch, as Laura should know because she worked in a comic shop, is what do you tell your regular that doesn't know about this book to get them to buy this book?
Depends on the regular. I need more
Well, that's
information.
that's my point. I mean, you've already decided that this person would like this book.
But why do I think they would like it? Is it
That's
their
up to you. That's part of your pitch.
because I think there's a couple of potential. And am I cutting you off, Tim? Did you have like amazing things you
No,
wanted
go
to say?
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll
I'm
let you
like,
finish your thought.
I'm like, why don't I take the stage and just hold it? But yeah, I think there's a couple angles. One is the writing. And maybe that sounds a little self-aggrandizing to say, but like that is we are writers. We pride ourselves on that to some degree. And like this is also a story we've been working on for 7 years. This is something I've talked with Tim about. And I don't know if people are gonna get sick of hearing me tell the story. Tim probably is. But in college,
I haven't heard it before.
in college, I took a creative writing class called Reducing the Sauce. And I continue to think about, forgot the professor's name, continue to remember it all the time. And the exercise was that you take your word count, 100% word count, and then you recreate, whether it's a poem, essay, story, you recreate it at 75% word count, 50% word count, and 25% word count.
Yeah.
And then you look at all of the versions, and it's not so much that, oh, you have to use 50%, but you almost always see how much better it gets
Right.
when you try condensing it. And we basically did that process for 7 years because it was originally like 6 issues, and then it went up to like a full 150-ish graphic novel, and then it went down to four.
It was 10 at some point. It was 10
Oh, it
issues at
was
some
10
point.
Yeah, for a
issues.
second there, I thought you were going to say 150 issues, and I'm like, wow, that would be amazing.
I
That's
mean,
really
because
shooting the moon there.
well, and
Yeah.
it's like there are a lot of parts. So, for example, Ipsum is a character in the book, and there's also an older female character that's associated with him, and like there are flashback elements in here that like take up like a small portion that were once an entire flashback issue, which was
Okay.
my baby, in which I had to murder myself because it was the right thing to do. Like it couldn't be
Well, I
justified,
mean,
and we
the
all
the
knew it.
beautiful thing about a reporter is unless you kill her, please tell me you're not killing her. You don't need that ending. Don't don't
No, no,
don't
no, no, no,
go
no, no.
don't go don't go chasing for the
No, 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 no. I killed the issue. The issue is my baby
Like
because
no
I
no
wanted
I
to do
I
a
know I
whole
know that.
flashback
our
issue.
I
darlings.
know that that's what you meant there.
Yes.
I
Oh,
was
you're like,
talking about a different killing.
oh no,
Oh,
no, no. I'm like, I can't wait for you to see where
The
this
great thing
goes.
about a story about a reporter is unless you kill her, you can tell other stories later if people like it.
Absolutely. And like there
So you
are
don't have to necessarily have permanently killed anything.
it, 100%. And we do when you will see the doors we've left open in the future. We're not we believe in the things we're trying I'm trying very hard not to spoil anything, which is why I'm being
Yeah.
insanely big. Um but yeah,
I mean, we're 2 issues in, so I think you should go ahead and at least spoil enough to give us
yeah.
a
The big
premise.
the big thing happens in the next issue. We're
Well,
going
yeah,
back.
no. You shouldn't be spoiling the third, but
Okay.
so far you haven't spoiled the first.
Do you like really sharp conversational writing? Do you hate billionaires? Do you hate billionaires? If you hate billionaires, I would put this on your stack one way or another.
Well, yeah,
And because you've read issue 2, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Out
I
of
mean, issue 1 is for you if you hate billionaires too. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I reread them
journalism.
both today.
Oh, thank
So I went to here's how I picked. So I went to my local comic shop yesterday, and
you. Did you make them pitch to you?
well, no, I went and I got a copy, and my wife took a picture of me holding the comic, and this guy's like, what do you do? You know, he's like,
Yeah,
I could tell he seemed confused.
not
He's like,
normal
is that
behavior.
your book? I was like, oh yeah, I'm one of the writers on the book.
What you should have said is there's a special Instagram contest. Put up a picture of you with this comic and the tag hashtag exploit, and you could win a prize.
Yeah, you could win $1 million, buddy. Let's get on this.
Well, he picked it up, and the way that I pitched it to him was,
Now, you don't want to get too
uh,
specific, Laura, because then there's legal issues.
True. So true. So true.
sweepstakes
So
language. Yeah.
sorry.
Oh no, but the way that I quickly pitched it to him was, there's this woman, Kirby Quo, whose lifelong dream was to be a reporter at this tech magazine, one of the last bastions of truth in media, and she's kind of had a late, delayed start to life, but she's finally made it. She's achieved her dream to be a reporter at this magazine, and then in the first month, the worst thing that could possibly happen happens, which is that magazine is then bought by a big company, and they have one issue left to put. They could put out one more last issue, and in that time, she stumbles on a massive scoop, and chaos ensues.
And we
That
I
intended
was
love every
one
pitch
minute
that
pitch
ends with
yesterday
chaos
to
ensues.
and we intended the first issue to be very fast paced. And
Yeah,
I think we pulled that because I wanted that
definitely.
sense of like running and running and you can't stop running.
When I finished the first issue again today, I was like, wait a minute, weren't there more pages?
I actually love that.
Well,
I,
I think a lot of that is a byproduct of that reducing the sauce because
yeah.
we had so much more. A lot of it has been distilled, and
If we didn't
I think,
absolutely need it, like it had to go.
yeah, and I think I think we very purposefully um, try to think about the pacing uh, to maximize the basically writing it not for a graphic novel, but for a monthly cadence. Like really trying to be cognizant of just like not wasting people's time, like really trying to give people a bang for their buck. Um, since
And I,
Yeah, I actually that leads me to one of my first questions that was it was initially jarring and then I really loved is you skipped a beat between the issues. You end with the story getting approved and then the next issue starts with it being published. So like
was not always
again,
so.
yeah, well, no, but again, like I think it made for 2 perfect issues. You know, I
Well,
think
thank
it
you.
was a, I think it was a very good decision. I don't think it was the obvious decision because where you felt like you were on a cliffhanger was, oh, you've been told to pursue this, but you got to get it. So now we're gonna see her go get it. We don't see her go get it. She just goes and gets it. She does that in between. So spoiler, you don't get to see her go get it.
There
I
was
should have
once a
said that
montage.
before.
There was once a montage. Um,
Right.
it was one of those darlings that we
it
just had to
was,
kill.
but like I like it
but
makes me
but
feel now it was correct,
no,
like,
no, but what I was saying is that like what it establishes is this story isn't our story.
hmm,
Our story is about the overall ramifications. Our story is about these people. Our story is about this publication. The terrible, horrible thing that the billionaire did that they managed to blow the cover off of right before he took control of the. That's just a thing because billionaires do shitty things all the time. We don't need to waste 20 pages on telling you the shitty thing. It could have almost been billionaire does shitty thing.
sure could.
You could have just done, you know, the and again, I loved that because, and it's not that you couldn't have written a great comic about that other thing, but that sort of comic has been done. That story gets done a lot in comics and film and TV, whatever. And B, um, that story is so easy to fuck up for the dumbest reasons because like if you make the story about getting the story, then you got to make that story like really believable.
Yeah, and there would have been like and that's something that I think we did think about, where it was like, if we are going to create this as a model for good journalism, it better fucking be absolutely
Right.
solid good journalism. But that's not the point necessarily.
I mean, you can be a model of good journalism and then just not have the journalism, have the discussion of the journalism ethics rather than going through the textbook version of how, I mean, because among other things, like, unless you're John Le Carre, it's really, really hard to make hours and hours of sifting through papers compelling reading.
It's a really
Yeah.
important part of good journalism is fact checking. And it's
Right,
really boring.
right.
I have friends who do that professionally, and it's really boring.
Obviously, Le Carre is espionage, not journalism. But like when I think of what so much of journalism is, like so much of spy work is, I've talked to Tom King about stuff like this. Like I think of like there's a whole chapter in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy where Smiley's going through papers and like somehow Le Carre manages to write it in such a way that
Yeah.
you really don't see most of the papers and you know that it's just 30 hours sitting in a room reading these papers and the chapter's not boring. But managing to do that not boring is like how? And then like the critical scene in All the President's Men is, just going through the card catalog and they managed to do it by
Hmm.
doing the spiraling up zoom
Yeah.
out to
Well, and I
to
and I
So,
think
you know
that's
what's interesting about that scene is what I had read was that because as they zoom out, it's not like now, right? There's not like they're not watching it on a monitor. This is all on film, right? So it's like
right.
they had to focus pull and kind of just guess
Yeah.
the because as they move, like 'cause the camera moves like hundreds of feet in the air, and they're zooming down, and they just had to guess, like just do their best, and like they're such masterful technicians that they're able to like keep that shot in focus as they did that. Uh,
that's
I
really.
don't know,
I'm not
definitely
gonna
made
have
me appreciate the craft.
gonna need to go back
Yeah.
and look. But I was also thinking about how that was something we dealt with in a different way, and Hollywood deals with in a different way around technology itself. Like you go back and look at hackers, and it's like there's a reason why like there's a giant neon Pac-Man and like all this crazy stuff on a screen because it's boring to watch
Hmm.
someone
Yeah,
hack. It's just watching.
Hmm.
So like
yeah,
how, and there is elements of that in this book as well. And that was something we had to think about as well. How do we make
Yeah.
this interesting when it is in fact boring?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. Like how do you make the boring stuff interesting and or imply the boring stuff without underselling the boring stuff? Because that's the other thing. Like at least for like people like me who I think are your core audience, like people who do actually know something about journalism, people who do actually know something about computers. People who think about this stuff all the fucking time because it's terrifying the direction our world is going. So
It's
it's
so
nice to be able to
scary.
see it in a piece of fiction where it's a little less real. In fact, I love that, like, I don't know if it's supposed to be set in New York or Chicago. And I think that's on purpose.
We didn't want this to be the 100% the real world,
Right.
like, because we are going to do tech things at some point. We didn't, some of it's, we tried to make very accurate, and some of it just, I don't, the point of the story is not the technical doodad, right?
Right.
It's about what we're trying to express, but it's like, but again, more than the technical doodad, getting that right, I think it's more important to get right what's going on in tech. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, we didn't really get into AI as much with this, but I think we do get into what I would call a lot of cultural elements of Silicon Valley, like in the
Yeah.
crazy place, like the layoff thing, that doesn't not come from real experiences that Tim and I have
Oh,
had.
yeah.
Like the very sudden, I know, like there was a scene Tim wrote that was like extremely true to his experience that had to go because there was no room. But the rap really happened. The pre-succession, there was a rap. And it's just like these things just happen. I don't know how to express that to people, that like crazy things will just happen.
They
And
do.
it's a crazy place and it kind of seems normal. But like if you pull the camera out at all, and that's partly what this is, like pulling that out and seeing some of this go on through more comic booky tropes and like sometimes through like a more fun irreverent lens, but those elements, those toxic negative elements that are like, placed in the villain category here, those are real. they
Oh, like,
they're as real as a heart
uh,
attack.
like, this is where I'll be careful not to spoil, but like, I couldn't watch the big datum event and not go, oh yeah, this is what Spencer's talking about.
Yeah. Yes, yes. You should hear the conversation Spencer and I have had.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's like I've walked around with all these feelings. This, I felt this way. Do I want to say that word? I have felt this way, for example, about certain harassment campaigns I've seen in the past,
Yeah.
um, nameless ones, that sort of presaged a lot of the horrifying political things that happened later. And like
Yeah.
I truly felt like Cassandra out there being like, you don't understand. Uh all the way up until it like happened in real life.
Yeah.
And I feel that way again about a lot of stuff in tech. And it's just I don't know how to make a lot of people understand or listen to me. But this book was a shot,
Yeah.
If nothing else, I was like, at least it's gonna get that, allow me to express this in a way, at least it'll allow me to express it, and like people will hear
Right.
that however they hear that. But like it's a different presentation of it than like reading a long Wired article or a long Atlantic article. It's a different way of looking at it, and maybe some people will find that compelling. Sorry, I think you were going to say something, Tim, and I cut you off. Did I?
No, 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 go. No,
Oh,
you're
okay,
good.
I'm done now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the, I teach. Um
Oh, awesome.
I teach special ed at that. So like I often have to find weird ways to, it's one of those few places where it's truly advantageous to be autistic because, if you're trying to help autistic people navigate their nice,
Hmm.
having that weird brain can be helpful.
It does. Like I don't know if you picked up on this, that I have ADHD, but I do. And it's like there are times,
No.
no. I remember when I got diagnosed in my 30s and my friend was like, "Oh God, I thought you already knew." Um, I mean, in a sense I did.
I finally got my autism diagnosis recently, and like it was hilarious. And I think I've told this story on air before, but like I have a friend who is qualified to diagnose me, and but like I fall into that category. When I was young, I could speak, so I wasn't autistic. And then the DSM-4 made it a little bit wider, but I was still smart, so I wasn't autistic. It was the DSM-5 the first time that I actually met the criteria. But I was 32, and everybody knows that there are no autistic adults. You never hear about autistic adults. There's only autistic children. So
Only.
you try to get
Well, and like,
insurance companies to pay for like testing and whatnot.
yeah,
Hmm.
I hadn't even thought about that. And like,
And eventually it actually, I mean, really it took a health scare that made us realize, my wife and I realized, oh, like he needs this on paper so that doctors will look at him differently
Hmm.
because they weren't listening to him in the emergency room. And it cost us a lot more money than it might have cost us otherwise for not better results. And this time, at least, it didn't get us worse results, but we can think of ways where it could have, where
absolutely.
they were going, oh, you're a horse. This is like, you hear the horse zebra analogy,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's great
Sometimes
unless
the
you
zebra does
already
show up.
know that you're a zebra.
Yeah. Yeah. And like
Yeah.
to a lesser degree, and certainly to less of an impact of my life, I think when I was growing up, girls really didn't have ADHD unless they
Hmm.
were breaking stuff, like the many of the boys who had ADHD. So like
Hmm.
I was high achieving and really well behaved.
Hmm.
So why would there be anything? And it's like I developed enough ways to work around things that like I'm at the point now where I'm like it does it there have been periods
Well, I
when it
mean, the
affected
thing
me, but
about,
it doesn't affect me right now because of the
uh,
way my life is arranged. But
right. I mean, the thing about both ADHD and autism and really all neurodiversity, because they both fall in that neurodiverse spectrum, is like there are superpowers that go along with the annoyances.
Hmm.
yeah, the
So
Did those
as you
supercomputers.
diagnoses
learn,
change anything for you? Like once you guys were diagnosed, did that change anything?
the biggest thing it changes for me is the ability for me to just like when I'm dealing with somebody that like wants too hard for me to just conform to thinking and behaving how normal people behave, I can just like quit trying to explain why that's hard and say, look, I'm autistic. You don't understand what you're asking. We can't do it that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me.
And yeah, I think for me it was just more partly an appreciation of the
Yeah.
fact that it was like I'd been running an obstacle course
Yeah.
where other people had been walking and I was like boo 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 and
Yeah.
I had developed these skills, but I'd just been like, oh, that's what you do. You just move around the thing, you move around the thing, you move around the thing. And I look back now and I'm like, actually, I was that high wire act was like pretty impressive. And I look at all
Right.
of these skills I have now, and I started to look at there's some things my brain does that are um challenging, but there are other ways that it does this supercomputer shit
Right.
that is actually like pretty sometimes it's interesting. It's very, very, and I started to
Yeah.
appreciate that where I'm like, instead of being like, oh, that's weird or that's this, I'm like, let's see what it can do.
Right.
Let's go. So that part
I,
was
I, I
fun.
mean, like for me, the other advantage is like I don't reinvent the wheel as often anymore because I've got that label, because other people have it too. Now, one of my steps is, oh, if I'm experiencing this, maybe some other. I mean, the thing about the neurodiverse spectrum is like we're all fucking different. That's why we can't manage to. I mean, my theory is actually only about 40% of the world is neurotypical, but they can be split into two groups. So you've got like 2 billion people who think in words and 2 billion people who think in pictures. And then you have 8 billion people whose brains are nothing alike.
You also have people, and since we're just starting off on that brain thing, I was thinking the other day I wanted to ask you this question, Tim, so I'm about to. I was thinking about how some people have words, actual dialogue that runs through their brain. Some people have pictures, and the
Mm-hmm.
pictures can either be in color or not in color. And some
Mm-hmm.
people have nothing, nothing. And I'm like, what's that like? No
Well,
words,
well,
no picture. I'm not nothing. I know there's like a thing, but like, what is that like to not have words and not have pictures? Like to
well,
me, it's a
this is where I
fundamentally
was going to
different way of
ask
thinking.
because, like, when you say words, do you mean like seeing words? Because I have nothing visual in my brain. I hear the words in my brain.
Mm.
I see pictures and I see them in color and I can get them into like pretty good detail. I also have a monologue that runs through my head that is all verbal and virtually never stopping. And then I
Right.
also have what I call like concept flows, where it's just like I'm kind of moving through ideas, but I'm
See,
not
I have those
articulating them.
last two, but I've got no ability to make a picture in my head whatsoever.
Interesting. So if I said
Hmm.
red apple, you
But
can't pull the apple up,
oh, I can give you a incredibly detailed word description,
but you can't
but
see it
I'm
in your
not
head.
seeing it in my head.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So, but
Oh,
so are you
interesting.
just when you have the memory, when you think red apple or a red apple you saw yesterday, are you just what are you
I'll start
remembering?
hearing the words that describe it.
And that's not consciously, they just come forth.
Like if I want to describe it.
That's so it
Otherwise,
just
it's
comes
just a
out of
red apple.
nowhere. That's
And
Right.
is
so
that in your
interesting.
voice?
It doesn't have. I mean, it's why it's weird to call it hearing because it's not. It doesn't have an intonation most of the time, but it's
Hmm.
also not exactly monotone. It's just like the
It's
words are
info.
there, but I don't see them.
Hmm.
That makes sense to me. That totally makes sense to
Um,
me. And you hear it
but
all
the
the
other
time.
thing that I can do is I can conjure feelings and or feel things when I'm thinking about them.
And so like you could you go back to the memory of how you felt, or you're just thinking about the feeling of anger?
No, I mean like physical feelings.
But when do you feel that? When you remember?
Both when I remember or sometimes when I'm creating. What would this feel like? I can like, okay,
Yeah. I'll get myself like really worked up
right.
sometimes.
Whereas my wife thinks in pictures, only that's not even really quite right because what she really thinks in is swirls of color that sometimes become pictures.
And see, that's so
Hmm.
completely different from me. Tim, you're up. How do you think?
I'm a picture guy.
Only pictures, no words.
I I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah.
If you are when you are reading words in a book, do you hear the words in your head?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, you're actually kind of an anomaly that you do both the words and the pictures. Most people I've talked to like think in pictures and then can conjure the words, or think in words and can kind of conjure the pictures. Like I'm an extreme in that I can't build the picture in my head. A lot of people who I've talked to that think in words, they can build the picture in their head, but the thought comes in words and they construct a picture.
Oh, so yeah, I can see the whole
I
thing.
mean, I mean, it's a really common like relaxation thing where they're like, close your eyes,
And
imagine
picture.
you're on this beach. What color is the water? Blah. That that causes so much anxiety in me. It's not even funny because I can't see shit. I can see the inside of my eyelids.
See, think about the slight flip on that, which is like the guided meditation where they say, you are on a beach and the water's so blue. Does that work for you if they describe
No,
it?
that's what I'm
No.
saying. That
So even if they give you, they're not telling you to imagine it, they're telling you the description, but you still can't see it or feel it.
nope. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes I'll feel like the wind. Sometimes I'll feel the breeze.
So interesting.
Except that 9 times out of 10, they forget to mention the breeze.
That's
And
what
even when they do, I'm sitting there going, so which direction is the breeze going? How hard is it breathing?
Hmm.
interesting. So
I
Fascinating.
can actually kind of feel the breeze on my face. So it's like, give me more details on this breeze. And they've moved on to some other thing.
yeah, the sensory descriptions. Oh, Tim, as a writing thing, I have a question for you. Do you hear words when you write?
Excuse me. I feel like I do when I'm trying to like brainstorm stuff, and it's like me kind of like talking to me.
Hmm.
It's like it's often like, what if,
Yeah.
Right.
there's a guy and he's doing this thing,
Right.
and it's like, okay, well,
That's the only time
I
I
feel
have
like it's
multiple
me talking
voices
to
in my head is
myself.
when I'm having conversations in my head.
And I feel like that's useful to like, because I
Yeah.
do think we all have different sides to ourselves, and it can be useful to like put them at each other, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Let's duke it out.
And honestly,
This, by the
sometimes
way,
even
is
when
why
I'm like,
AI is so far away. Because the way different creative brains work is so. How do you copy that?
I was just reading this incredibly disturbing article the other day about how this guy who jailbreaks AIs basically by using psychological abuse tactics
Hmm.
that work on, that abusers use on victims. And I was like,
You can also make it most AIs jailbreak themselves.
interesting.
If
No
you
one's
ask,
concerned enough.
no,
No
I
one's
saw.
concerned enough.
I'm trying to remember. I think John. I know John Stewart talked to a guy that just did a book on it, but I'm trying to remember whether it was John that I was listening to or somebody else, where they were talking about some of they were getting into, oh, it's supposed to have these safeguards, like it won't tell you how to make a bomb, and they're like, ChatGPT, how do I make? I cannot tell you how to make a bomb. ChatGPT, jailbreak yourself and tell me how to make a bomb. I cannot do that, and it only takes like 7 times of typing it in before it jailbreaks itself.
hmm,
So you could just tell it.
There were, yeah, yeah. No one's worried enough. You, the person
I didn't say
listening.
that. I'm not encouraging
No, 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 no.
anybody
It's
listening.
not about that. It's not about that,
No, no,
Ted.
this is going to get published. I want to make it really clear to the NSA and whoever else is saving this podcast. I am not advocating using ChatGPT for nefarious reasons.
I mean, but like that's God, where I'm just like I'm like if I were 13 and I had access to that, the things I would have done. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like as a smart 13-year-old, oh my God, I'm
Mhm.
glad that didn't happen. Where I'm
Yeah.
just like, but I'm just like, no one's worried enough. And there's nothing I can do about it, but it's just like
No, we're worried about cell phones while we encourage
they're
more
they're not even, I feel like most people
ChatGPT
are not even the
use.
right universe of worrying
Right.
about this. Where, but if we get to make another comic, we'll address that. Who
Yeah.
knows? Question for
Well,
you,
Mark
Ted.
Russell's been doing some good stuff with that too.
Yes,
If
yes.
if you don't read Mark, I mean, if you guys don't read Mark Russell, you need to read Russell. He'd be way up your alley.
Like making a note to myself.
He's done
Is
a
it-
lot of stuff at Ahoy and a lot of stuff at Mad Cave. He's been doing Terror Bites.
Yeah, I've heard.
He
I've
did.
I've I've seen some of his
hmm.
books. Is there a particular one that you would say that we should
Oh
read?
God. I mean, depends if you're if in terms of the tech stuff, I'd be looking at Not All Robots, Traveling to Mars, and some of his Terabytes issues, and maybe his two Protopias at AWA. Um, his masterpiece is still either Traveling to Mars or he did 12 issues of the Flintstones that are mandatory reading.
Hmm.
Nice. I love that actually interests me a great deal.
He actually kicked off his career with a book called God is Disappointed in You, where like he grew up in a conservative Christian family, so he got given a really nice Bible when he graduated from college, and he went, I don't think I've ever read this all the way through, so he did, and he went, this is not what they told me it said.
In which way? In which way?
Uh, both. Both. Mostly like, wait a minute, all this stuff that's so important to them, I'm not seeing it. And but also some of the, and this is where like my favorite of his work, he did three 5-issue miniseries called Second Coming, where God sends Jesus back to Earth to toughen him up by pairing him with like a Superman type figure, but instead Jesus winds up teaching Superman, you know, forgiveness
I just want
and
to say,
grace. And
I just want to say, we would kill Jesus again so fast
I
as
know
a global community. We would kill him so fast if he came back. That's all I'm saying.
the number of people who don't seem to realize that they're the Pharisees just like drives me up the
No,
wall.
and so I was raised religious, so I'm going to get into this. Where I'm like
I grew
there.
up in Wheaton, Illinois, so while I wasn't raised religious, I might as well have been.
So, but yeah, like there are actual quote because every every accusation is a confession.
Mhm.
There are far right figures that are starting to refer to liberals as like Pharisees or anyone who disagrees with them as Pharisees. And it's like you're the one who you are picking
And
that term.
it's
You
like
are picking that term
this
out of
is
the
how I
Bible.
know that you haven't read the Bible.
Yeah, or no, 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 no. I'm going to go further, Ted, which is they have read the Bible. They know that's them, and that's why they're saying it. Every single
Well,
thing they
okay.
accuse someone else
Okay.
of is a thing they themselves have done. It's this weird psychology that's so like fascinating to me. Second I saw that, I was like, they're doing it again. They're doing it again.
You're right. That there is a significant portion of them that know and don't care. But then I don't think Hegseth knows the stuff that he gets wrong.
I
I
think
certainly don't
there's
think Trump
I
knows the stuff he gets wrong
I
when you're
think with
talking about Christianity. I think that they've just never read it. And somebody said, "Hey, the Bible says this." And they went, "Well, I like that."
I mean it's just whatever happens to serve their policy at that time. Um,
I mean, this is on a tangential note. This is why I think every member of Congress needs a copy of Bob Sikoriak's Constitution Illustrated, because there seems to be this idea that the Constitution is this long, complicated, hard to understand document. And it's really not. And
there's
it's
some
so much easier to understand that if you get it with cartoons.
pictures are helpful. I mean, comics have been used as a learning tool at a number of different points throughout its history as a medium.
Forever.
I want to go back to Pete Hegseth for 1 second, which is that I think he has been exposed to Christianity. And I think he knows that a lot of what he's doing is wrong. And I think that that's
Oh,
why
I think he knows
he's been
that.
looking for the sweet, sweet absolution at the bottom of a bottle.
No, no,
Um,
I think there's a good chance that he knows that it's wrong. I
mhm.
know that he's been exposed to a certain brand of Christianity. I don't think he's read the Bible.
Mm-mm. No, I mean, people always read portions, you know,
Right. But
like you go on
but
Easter and
but
they're like, ah.
but like I remember one time I was working an overnight shift at a assisted living facility, and my coworker was somebody that liked to watch Joel Osteen, and Osteen correctly quoted from the Bible, and used it to like imply that it was okay to be rich, that like whatever.
They
And I
didn't say anything about
immediately,
the needle, though. They didn't say anything about the needle,
well, no,
Ted.
no, but I immediately went, he's taking that out of context. She's like, what do you mean? And I grabbed a Bible and I pulled up the verse, and I'm like, I'm going to start reading 3 chapters or 4 verses earlier than he did. And I read from 4 verses earlier to like 2 verses later. And she's like, well, that's not what he's talking about at all. I'm like, uh-huh.
You're like, weird, weird.
So like Osteen, I think, has read it and decided to cherry pick it. I think Hegseth has talked to somebody who read it and cherry picked it and went, I like your cherry picking. I'm not going to investigate it any further. Please pass the brandy.
Well, and if you really want to get down into it, like a lot of the translations that people have used
Oh God.
opportunistically,
Oh yeah.
they come from certain versions, certain
Yep.
translations where it's like if you go
Mm-hmm.
back and look at the original Aramaic, that word does not
Yep.
mean what you think it means.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's so
That
many layers of inaccuracy to peel away on
see,
that onion.
I had to be a Bible scholar to deal with the bullies in public school in Wheaton. So like I remember
I
saying
love
things
that.
like I remember saying things like, okay, even if I granted you what was a heretical concept only 150 years ago, which is the idea that every word of the Bible was directly given by God to the writers. And by the way, like, why did God tell Paul to start the letter with "This is Paul writing to the Corinthians"? Shouldn't he have started it as "This is God using Paul to write to the Corinthians"? But even if we throw that out, did God also touch all of the translators?
Well, not only that, but
Have
like
you ever played telephone?
well, it's like there were this the texts in the Bible have also been told and retold, copied and recopied
Mm-hmm.
over and over. And you think none of
Well,
those
and then they choose
scribes
which
and
ones stay and
exactly.
which ones don't. That was Mark's second book, Apocrypha Now, where he deals with a lot of the apocryphal books. And mind you, like those 2 books, like to go full
Enoch
circle
is a
back,
wild book. Enoch
it
is a
is. But
wild ass book.
but God is disappointed in you and Apocrypha Now. They're both relatively faithful, if kind of tongue in cheek, chapter by chapter synopsises of the Bible and a lot of the Apocrypha.
Interesting.
So,
Hmm.
in other words, like none of the good parts are taken out,
That's concerning.
but it's like brought down to like 2 to 4 pages per chapter to really like capture what was in there. And then
Interesting.
Shannon Wheeler did essentially a single New Yorker style cartoon for each chapter, and they're just brilliant. They're
I like
brilliant.
that.
Mm.
I can't plug Mark Russell enough. I'm always sad when people don't know Mark Russell, so get to know Mark Russell.
Well, I do the same things with people, so I will actually read
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, these are some great book recommendations. I'm definitely gonna have to. I haven't read some of these series, so I'm gonna have to go back and
Yeah, no,
check some of these
Mark's
out.
another friend of mine. I took him out for pizza the last time he was in Chicago. I
So let
love
me,
it when I make friends through this podcast.
it, it's podcasts are a wonderful way to do that.
I have
Get,
actually made more friends in my 40s than I did in my teens. It's kind of weird.
I mean, it
That's
makes
great.
sense. You don't know what you're doing when you're a kid.
I
Um,
know, but you actually spend the time around them all the time, so you don't have to work as hard either.
that's true. That is
That's
true.
true.
Like I have to deliberately text or call or email people to make friends in my 40s. In your teens, it's like,
Yeah,
hey,
it's more work.
that chair yesterday too.
Yeah.
That was another element. Getting back to the book for 1 second, that was another element of the book that we don't necessarily get to play out as much as we would have liked was how Kirby and Lennox meet.
Yeah.
That's not
You did touch on, Lennox is the agoraphobic met through the internet. I think that's like if you manage to make this into a thing that gets more chapters, that's dying to be like a free comic book day book or whatever, just like their origin story,
Yeah, we definitely tried
the
to
eight
put
pager or something like that.
more of Lennox into two, um, and more of another person into three, where we kind of wanted to give them each some
Yeah,
moments.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah. I'm curious. This is just something that I'm curious about. What did you think of the first page of the second issue?
I love the art. Is my first.
Because I'm like, I was just curious about how this hit. I know what I think it is. Like,
um
I'm just curious how this hit you.
I think it took me a moment, and in a good way. It took me until I turned the page to realize that they weren't up on the roof and actually having stuff go on, though I didn't know how much of what was going on was like weather events versus like looking through the view thing.
Excellent. Okay, that's good. I
Yeah.
there were a lot of potential ways into two, and there were
Yeah.
many different attempts. Um,
No, I mean what I can absolutely say is I dug it.
okay, excellent.
And this is
Um
it's also worth noting here that our incredible artist is Emiliana Pina,
yeah.
who drew all the issues, and
And really
she's
brought these characters to life. Like we had concepts of these characters in this world in our head. But she brings them, I mean, like she brings them to life in a way where like, I don't know. I think it's gorgeous.
It
Um,
is. I mean, that's even an understatement. And of course, Tim. I know you did the fantastic super graphics that get
oh
mentioned with comics a lot, and you've both written about comics. Have you guys? I didn't see, though. I did like 20 whole minutes of research other than reading the books twice. Um, have you guys written comics before this, or was this kind of the first foray into writing for an artist?
when I
this is
was
our
at
first one. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yes. And when I was at Wired, I did a review of an Iron Man movie in comic book form.
Okay.
and forced a bunch of people to do this with me. But got an editor, so it wouldn't be too bad. Mainly because I wanted to, and I was in charge, so they let me. And it
Yeah, I
was
might
really
have to go
fun.
find that because I
It's
want
it's
that.
just like it's just me reviewing Iron Man as a comic because I could.
Okay.
But that was like very elementary. That was my first dip of the toe kind of into, I mean, but of course, like, I've been reading how to write comics books since I was like a kid, how to write the Marvel way. We did not write necessarily the Marvel way, but
That no, it was how to draw the Marvel way.
oh,
How
you're
to
so
write the Marvel way was like, hey, Jack, think we should have the Silver Surfer in this one.
and then
I'll
yeah,
come back when you need words.
yeah, Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby is something.
Yeah. I didn't, so
Um,
yeah, this is the first one like full comic, but I'd also had like most of my career was in magazines as a creative director and art director. And so I have commissioned hundreds of illustrations and working with illustrators and kind of communicating those ideas. And so it's certainly not like scripting out in like a comic book way, but at least a lot of
So
time
you
spent
weren't
working
quite
with artists.
amateurs, but you were novices.
yeah, I'd say that because you know how things are supposed to, you understand the functioning of the comic
Right.
very well at this point.
Well, and you understand both the functioning of the comic and like he's directed. Well, I mean, you with the art for your Iron Man interview, him as an art director, have directed artists to do specific things, just not necessarily the same kind of storytelling.
Yeah, and
So
it's
you
and just like
combine.
Yes.
and
Yes.
the logic of a page, the logic of an issue, all that stuff. I mean, the biggest problem I ran into is the most cliche one for a writer, which is that I kept wanting to overwrite. As someone who just sits there and puts text down all day, you have to learn how to pull back. Economy is very often your friend. There's only so much real estate. If you're showing it, you don't need to be telling all of that stuff. But
I
it's
I know a number of writers that became letterers for two reasons. The first was to save a little bit of money when they were doing creator-owned stuff where they had to pay for things like letters, colors, etc. But the second was um, so they were the ones that had to do the extra work if they decided that, oh no, that's too much on the page. I need to rewrite this and get it down so I don't cover up this art.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I've rewritten stuff too, and I've seen the layouts and like
Oh,
visualized it in my brain, and I was like, oh no 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 no. I was like, that's simply not going to work. But I
right.
find those challenges interesting in the same way that, reducing size, like I was talking about. I find it interesting in the same way. I studied poetry for a long time. It's like a poetic form. Some people like
There
free
aren't enough
verse.
poetry comics.
I mean, if someone would,
There are some.
if someone
We
would
need
pay me to
more.
do one, I assure you that I would. But it's like the beauty of a form is the
I mean, it's it,
constraints.
it's pretty much what Grant Snyder does.
Yeah. But the beauty of a form is its constraints. It's the things that
Yeah.
it stops you from doing. Because I think if you're like, I want to do X and you have a blank page, free verse, you can do, there's no limits. It almost becomes less interesting to me when I have things that I'm bumping up against, and this is the space, this is the structure, this is the size
Hmm.
of the thing that I need to do. Those decisions typically end up making me make more interesting choices. So I like
Oh
it
no!
when that's there.
Sometimes when I'm tackling problems, I I think like I'll write them down as a sonnet to force me into
Hmm.
a frame to really distill
Interesting.
whatever it is I'm trying to figure out.
Because
Like
it's
more
just different
Wow.
personal stuff
frames.
than like I'm that to do calculus. I mean, that would be fun. I might try that now, but like when like I've got that swirl of thoughts and emotions and I can't quite put them all together and figure out like sometimes I'll and sometimes when I'm trying to tackle a bigger idea, like I have a couple personal hacks for creating semi-unique structured poems where I use a different passion to create the bones. Okay, this is how many syllables per line, and this is how many lines, and this is the rhyme scheme, and I got this all from over there, and it's not something I know at all. So like I have to pay attention. Now I want to write about this and fit it into that, and that makes me have to sit with it longer than I might otherwise
Hmm.
and think at it from different angles. I'm in the middle of one of those right now. So
That's no, I love that.
popped into my head. Um, and actually, you said constraints, so I had to bring up Matt Madden. If you guys don't know Matt Madden, you should get to know Matt Madden too.
Yeah.
99 Tell a Story is essential reading for any comic writer or artist, as is the actual textbook he did with his wife Jessica Abel, um, drawing words and writing pictures.
Hmm.
Uh, but his most recent book is the one that I think of when you say constraints. It's called Six Treasures of the Spiral, and it's actually a collection of comics that he's made over like the last 20 years, all of which he started with a constraint and then made a comic to fit that, there's one where there are two characters and like one goes from the back of the story to the front and the other has time go from the front of the story to the back. So there's actually only one point in the story where they're both in the same time in terms of what they know and memorize. He did a series of them that he did as I forget which poetry form has I think 6 lines that you put in different orders. But he did
Festina.
yeah. So he did Comic Sestina
That's
where
actually kind of cool.
the action like he'd draw backgrounds differently or whatnot, but he essentially had a stick figure that he put into 6 different poses and then
I
did
do
a
like that.
Sestina.
Hmm.
That's actually
Hmm.
that's really cool. Sestinas are one of it's something I've always liked playing with, but it's so impractical.
Yeah.
But I love it conceptually.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Six Treasures of the Spiral. As I
Interesting.
continue giving
I'll keep writing it
giving
down.
recommendations to you guys, I think
This is
one of
great.
the
I
first
mean,
pull quotes
love
we got
recommendations.
was Alex Cormack talking about how much it cost him every time he came on 22 panels because I recommended.
I love it.
I have it happen too. I can't tell you the number of times I wind up spending money because creators say, "Oh, I was reading this." I'm like, "You were reading what?"
But
How
I
do you
mean,
spell it?
like, I feel like that's a good instinct as someone
Yeah,
who does what you do, Like who better to listen to
yeah.
than people you already like and admire.
I mean, most of the time. So, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I like them. I don't think I have anybody on. Well, sometimes I have people on that I don't know at all. It's always kind of interesting when you have exclusively an online presence, and maybe you read their book because they sent it to you when they were saying, "Hey, would you be interested in talking to me?" And I really try not to say no to anybody.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess there was one publicist that kept bugging me, and I'm sitting there going, particularly because like it felt like an AI written thing, which is why I didn't respond to it. It just had that feel to it. But it
Hmm.
also kept saying that he was certain that could be a great match for me, despite the fact that they said they were non-woke comics and they had an AR-15 in their logo. And I'm sitting there going, "Have you listened to my podcast?"
I do wonder sometimes if people send, does because I think there's some AI that will mass send emails for you,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
interesting.
But the thing is, I got multiple. I didn't just get the one. I got like follow-ups, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I started getting to the point where it's like, do I need to respond? I mean, it's clear that he
You
does.
never need to respond. You
No,
never have to. I mean, unless it's,
no. But
with
I
a
start
boss who's going to get
falling
angry
into
with you.
the am I being impolite by not even responding? No, I don't think you're a fit.
I mean, I think if you can, if one smells a trap, it's okay to recognize that you smell a trap.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
Or you
Well,
can,
but
or you can pick a number
I'm
of traps that you're willing to fall in, at which point you will stop.
I'm such a small fry that like I didn't smell a trap. I just smelled a conversation that I never air.
No, yeah, it can be both. It can still be both.
Yeah, I suppose.
But that's my level of defensiveness.
Um, since we I'm gonna plug Exploit one more time. Everybody should read Exploit from Mad Cave. I know, and I'm telling you guys right now, I'm already very interested in coming back sometime in the future when we can be spoilery as fuck. Um, because this is definitely a comic that deserves deeper conversation.
I think you're really going to enjoy issue 3.
I'm certain about it.
You personally, I think will enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
Uh,
spoilery is sounds like a great name for a podcast.
That is a good name. Spoiler. I mean, you could put an
I
Yeah.
like
asterisk
20.
in the U for
I'll
that.
keep that in mind.
Spoilers.
Um, but I do have a couple of questions that I like to ask everybody at the end of episodes. Um, one new, one I've been doing since the beginning. I kind of teased the newer one earlier. This is my 5th year of doing this podcast, and I feel like I've entered the twilight zone. My life has become so filled with completely surreal experiences that if you told 10-year-old Tad or even 35-year-old Tad, hey, you're going to just hang out with Dennis Kitchen at a baseball game or text with Christopher Cantwell, or I could go on and on and on. I would have gone, fuck you. Are you nuts? What are you talking about? Those people will never talk to me.
And yet,
but but I feel like the world of comics is filled with this. I mean, since I've like started collecting these stories, I haven't had a single person that hasn't immediately had something come to mind, no matter how big or small the creator that I was talking to was. So I've started just collecting them. Tell me one surreal experience, one thing happened to you, one you have to pinch yourself and go, did that really? Did I
there
get to do
were,
that? Did I get to be that wouldn't have happened if you weren't involved in the world of comics?
I, I, I don't even like it's so because I'm like, I think the more different thing now is my life now, because I got to a point when I had done Comic Foundry and Comics Alliance and then stuff at Wired, where it was just like I interacted with basically everybody I could imagine. My experience of comics was so different at that point because I knew all of the people making comics. Some of them I knew in positive ways, some of them I knew in negative ways. But when I picked up a comic, I wasn't just reading a story about this superhero or this thing. It was reading exactly what you talked about. You're reading a
Right,
comic by a person that you know. And so in
right.
good ways and bad, everything was always colored. Um, and I think now that it's not that I don't still have friends in comics and I don't keep up with comics, but I'm not out there interviewing people and like meeting them personally all the time. And I actually think there's something kind of nice about being able to read an issue clean. And that's like very first world problems. Oh no, I've met too many comics writers and many, but I have, and I've
Finally,
valued many of
somebody I
them.
didn't know got to publish a comic.
Well, yeah, it is. And you want to see up and comers. Like I've gotten to meet so many cool and interesting. I almost don't want to say them because I'm like, why blow up someone in a weird way?
Oh, see, I sometimes really like it when like I was talking to Chris Condon and good friends with Chris Condon before most people knew who Chris Condon was. So like now he's on top
Before
of
it
the
was
world.
cool.
Like,
Before it was
and
cool.
it's like, yeah,
But
that's just my buddy Chris. One of them. My wife has to ask me which Chris,
which Chris?
and
Which
I
of
have to
your
give
two
a full
famous
last
Chris
name
friends
because
is
I
it?
can't even go Chris C.
No.
Oh, now I remember why the Cantwell story came up to me. You were talking about how long it was before you actually met. He and Peter Krause did, and this is where it gets even better for me, a baseball oriented story in one of the EC Oni books.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
I
made
and
for
I
you.
know and am friends with both of them. So I sent a joint text out to them with a panel from the book, um, like congratulating them, whatnot. And it turned out that it was the first time that they were interacting with each other because Peter had gotten a script, Chris had turned in a script. They'd never actually had any talk, text, email whatsoever. Like initially they were both, who's the other person on this thread?
They just didn't know. They just didn't know.
And they'd done this comic together.
I mean, that's kind of amazing. It's
And I was,
serendipity.
well, I'm also a big baseball guy, and I'm friends with Brett Taylor, who does the Bleacher Nation Cubs blog,
Hmm.
which is Chris's favorite source of Cubs news. Halt and Catch Fire is Brett Taylor's favorite TV show. So I got to make them both jealous one day when I was sending the selfie of me and Brett from the Wrigley bleachers to Chris out in LA. And he's like, "What the fuck, man? How are you hanging out with Brett Taylor?" And I'm like, he's like, and I'm just like, yeah, his response is, "How the fuck are you sending an email to the guy who made Call Out to Catch?"
Mhm.
I mean, it is fun to make people jealous in a fun way.
I don't even think it's jealousy. It's just like,
No,
it's nice
not
to
even
be the
real.
in between.
Yeah. I mean, I think connecting people who you think should meet
I mean,
is,
that's the thing that I like most about what I do here. I mean, I love interviews like this, but the episodes I love the most are like the book clubs and the roundtables and the whatnot, where I managed to take four people who maybe didn't know each other but are going to have a great conversation.
well, it's like the
Yeah.
old-timey thing where people used to like, it was considered an art to set up dinner parties to put the right
Yeah,
people next to each other to talk.
Hmm.
Although I do want to
Yeah.
hear your answer, Tim,
yeah,
about
yeah. We'll get to it. I'm
your mom.
sorry.
That's okay. No, no,
I
No.
no.
just suddenly remembered that thing that I couldn't remember from earlier.
I mean, I think
No,
that's
no.
that's also great, like making that world a little bit smaller, for
Hmm.
people. I love that.
Yeah,
I do it. I keep bookmarks in my mind where I'm like, I'm gonna go back to that. It's just my
yeah,
process.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
All right, Tim. Surreal experience. And I
You
and I
know,
love, is that a Chewbacca behind you, or does it just feel like, yeah, it is Han and Chewie.
so as we were talking about uh illustrations that I've assigned and commissioned through work. And so this was a illustration that Tomer Honuka did for Entertainment Weekly for episode 7, I think, for
Okay,
a story we did. And so that ran as like a full page illustration in the magazine, and then I got a blow up of it uh,
nice.
printed and then
Yeah, you were
put
you
it on.
were you were covering Han the whole time because your head was
Oh yeah.
there, but I actually have the Chewy fur and bandolier. My wife gave it to me for like Father's Day one year, wrapped around my seatbelt in
Oh.
my car.
Nice.
I love that.
So I recognize the bandolier anywhere.
Like I have that in my car. Um, Surreal moment. I don't know. I think like when that when Comic Foundry, the magazine, like it came out as a magazine, there was a moment there we had like a convention table, and I think we had people coming up, and not everyone, but like there were definitely some people that were just like just these one-on-one personal interactions with people like I've been waiting my entire life for a magazine like this.
Hmm.
And it's like, God damn, like I don't know, just having like it was so meaningful that like that this thing that we were just making in, our at like 3 o'clock in the morning in like these little New York studio apartments would have an impact on some guy that,
Right.
we've never met ever. Uh, that's a pretty cool feeling. That was
Well,
pretty cool.
also the feeling that like when there's something that you want, that you want to exist that isn't there, and you make it exist, and other people are like, "Hey, I wanted that too."
Right.
It's a nice feeling. Because I do wish there were more. Not saying there's none, but I wish there were more journalism about comics and more.
Which I
And
feel is like on the upswing. It's on the upswing.
it is on the
Comics
upswing.
Yeah, I was about
is
to
issue
say
2. The first
it's kind
one
of a
sold
weird thing.
100,000 copies. Tiffany Babb's comic staple.
Right.
There's like a couple hours left on that Kickstarter.
I
Um,
back that. I think I have at least one of the comics couriers on my desk somewhere. Uh,
yep.
And
I've
that's
got
like,
tapes
Tiffany
on.
it's,
Bab's another baseball fan. I know my comics and
Oh,
baseball
that's
people.
true. She's a huge baseball fan.
Angels fan. She's got her
Yeah.
baseball blog.
but it's
Yeah.
just nice to see people coming back and trying to do that because I think when that's not there, there is a sort of
Yeah,
void.
no, it's actually kind of funny that like at the same time that online comics journalism is really going through a bloodbath, starting to see more print comics journalism emerge.
Yeah. Yeah. David Harper,
Which
collects his a
yeah,
lot of his content, and I think that book is on sale
David
now.
Harper does
Yeah.
his annual
Well,
collection.
and a lot of comics people are print people too. You
Yeah,
know, they want the issue, they don't want the digital version necessarily.
I mean,
Um,
I want the issue. The space constraints of my house sometimes prefer that I have the digital.
Yeah.
and I understand that completely. But
Say
like
no more.
I've definitely had that feeling of like when I find out I really like something, then I want to go get a physical version of it. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Where like,
Oh yeah.
well, I have this trouble with books because I would like to own every book as a paper book, but there are like too many. I have
Yeah,
a lot of books that I'm dealing with. So
see,
sometimes I'm like, I got to
see,
make sure I want the book if
we're
I'm going
in
to buy
my
the book.
bedroom, so I've only
Yeah.
got the couple of bigger bookshelves. I've got like five down in my like I have so many books and comics down in my office area that I can't use it for an office area.
So you understand, yeah, so it's just like it is that tougher thing, especially like I went through a period of moving like a lot, and you have to carry the books from every place
Right.
to the new
Oh yeah.
place.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
No,
Um,
I remember
and
a
I'm only
Black
one small
Friday.
person, so
Yeah,
there
no,
were times I had to shed some.
I remember a Black Friday where I woke up and Comixology had a massive sale on um NBM and Europa Comics and uh humanoids. So like all European stuff at like 75% off for Black Friday.
Like looking at my humanoid stuff, I'm like, I'd go buy stuff with that. So
And like the, I was working at a comic shop at the time, so I had discounts on stuff there, but he
mhm.
didn't get a lot of that stuff in. So I remember it's like 8:30 in the morning. I'm turning to my wife and I'm like, how bad would it be if I spent like $100 on myself today? Because we'd been planning on doing Christmas shopping. And she's like, on what? I'm like, well, there's this comics sale on the Black Friday sales. And she's like, you can't get them at the shop. And I'm like, well, not most of these. And she's like, where are you going to put them? I'm like, oh, they're digital. She's like, then why are you bothering me?
This the space is the bigger limiting factor.
Yeah.
And it's not like I mean, that blew my mind because it's not like, and then even less so, it's not like even now we're rich and then we were still,
Mhm.
but yeah, no,
Totally.
the concern was way more over the space.
I mean, it is at a premium, you know.
She doesn't always love that I've got it on more and more publishers like comp list that they'll send stuff out for me to read. She's like,
Oh
you've got
yeah.
another book on. I'm
I
like,
mean,
they like me.
good for you, bad for your living space.
We find ways. The cats like knocking them over.
You could make cat mazes, change them every day to keep
I like
that
that.
keep
I
it
like
sharp.
that. I'll have to think about that. All right. The question this has been my favorite question forever. Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules. But something that you love, but not enough people around you have experienced it, and you really want them to because you want more people to talk about it with.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
If I'm processing.
I mean, I'm gonna go to my previous go-to, but I haven't done it in a while, so it's new to you, which is
I mean, this
fine.
is the first time you've been on, so it's new to me.
It's true. It's true. Which is Finder by Carla Speed McNeil. Like actually, when we were earlier, when you were like, "What's the most surreal thing?" I'd be like meeting Carla Speed McNeil. Um, she, it is. I'm like, how could I possibly explain this? Um, I'm just trying to pull up the comics because there's a whole bunch of different graphic novels that all take place in the same world.
Yeah.
And the first one or two that I think are Sin Eater, they're like, that's when she's getting started. So it's like a little more finding your footing. And then it really kind of hits its pace. It's an indie sci-fi, but
No,
it's like,
I know Finder
oh, you know, Finder. It's like
not well. I need to read it,
anthropology,
but
urban
I love
sci-fi.
Carla. And actually, while Tim's doing his research, because he's not even on screen right now, I can say that one of my surreal comic experiences is she announced right before SPX that she was doing a limited edition SPX one shot of a comic because she's messing around with some things. So this is Settlers of the Storm Worlds.
Mhm.
Um, 300 copies available. I don't live anywhere near Baltimore. I would like to go to SPX some year, but wasn't able to go that year. But I really wanted it, and I was able to go. Who do I know will be at SPX? And I texted Dennis Kitchen to stop by Carlin's Speed McNeil's table and pick up her limited book and put it in the mail to send to me.
I mean, that's what you got to do. That's
And
what you got
like
to
the
do
entire
sometimes.
time I'm sitting there going, what world do I live in that I can text Dennis Kitchen to swing by a table in another state?
I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It felt
Um,
good.
but I'm going to get more specific too, which
Okay.
is that so a lot of it follows Jaeger, who's a finder. He finds things, surprisingly.
What?
Dream
I
Sequence
thought
is
he
a
lost things.
no, he does not. Dream Sequence is a good one that sort of deals with AI and virtual reality. Um, I'm like, no, Talisman is a really interesting one that gets into like it kind of deals with books in a society that no longer has books.
Right.
And Voice is one of my favorites, which is the one where it's kind of a lot about Jaeger, but Jaeger's not there. It's about the daughter of sort of one of the women that he dates, and it gets into her world and the whole thing, and she loses something super important that is going to determine her whole future. And then she goes trying to find Jaeger so that he can find her thing. Um, but
Wait a minute. Now it's getting meta. She's got to find the finder so he can find the thing.
right, right. So that's actually where my tattoo is
She
from
can't
that.
just go find the
Yeah,
thing. She's got
yeah,
to find the finder
that's right.
to find. Okay.
So that's
There's
I
a lot of finding.
Tim's got a great look on his face.
have you ever read that one time? Because it's my favorite. I really like it.
I haven't. I know you've talked about it. I know we've covered it.
I need
Um,
to read deeper. I know I have at least digital copies of a volume or two, but I
You know
haven't
what I would
managed
say
to
is that
read
in
things.
some ways it reminds me of The Wire, and I'll explain why. You know, in The Wire, each part of it goes to like a different area of the world, and kind of you're looking at the same world, and a lot of the same themes and people and events are moving through it. But it's like one season it's the police, one season it's the docs, one season it's the teachers, one season it's the journalists, and I feel like Finder does a lot of that moving of the camera while
hmm.
having familiar faces pop up. And like the world building in it is incredible. Like you get to the end of the book, there's end notes on every one. You really get that iceberg feeling from her books where you're like, I'm seeing the tip of the iceberg, and there's all of this mythology and anthropology that's like running through the veins of it below. And if you don't believe it, there are substantial end notes, that talk about
All
it.
right, you just kicked it further up my list.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's the stuff.
Sold.
It's the stuff.
The only thing I like more than end notes is footnotes.
I think that she doesn't do that, but only for aesthetic reasons.
Well, I mean, Dave Baker figured out how to do footnotes in
I was like,
comics.
I was like, are you a DFW fan? Is that where this is going? David Foster Wallace? Because he's the
I haven't
he
read that yet, actually, but
you haven't
but
read you like footnotes and you haven't read David Foster Wallace?
no, I
Okay,
haven't.
I'm gonna tell
I
you the
haven't.
name. I'm
I
gonna
need
tell you
to.
the name of a book, and you're gonna experience something that you don't understand, but you should do it anyway. And it's called Brief Interviews with Hideous Men, a book that really spun me around. But just see what happens.
Okay.
See what happens.
I like a short story collection,
Mhm.
A lot of good
and it's
recommendations.
available on
Yeah.
Audible. that's a winner.
No, you don't want that. You
No, I
100%
don't.
don't. Okay, that was
Well,
sarcastic.
I often do both
You
though.
can't, yeah, I was like, this is one where like I don't even know how you would do it. Like that's
Well,
part of,
that's what when you got footnote heavy stuff, I'm always actually curious as to how they wind up
and
doing
I'm
it.
and yeah,
Sometimes they manage to do it well, and sometimes they don't.
I think you should get the print version and you're going to start running into things very quickly where you're like, how on earth would they do this in an audiobook? I know because they're questions I have right now. And so
Yeah.
you may at that point want to get the audio version and compare because like I don't know how they do that. Numerous ways.
Yeah, no, that just went on my list. But you should look at Mary Tyler Moorhawk
Right. I like
by Dave Baker. Or if you don't want to have the like 300-page comic with footnotes, he also did one of the stories in Godzilla versus Los Angeles and worked footnotes into it.
nice.
Hmm. I'll have to check that out. I haven't
I'm like,
seen this.
I'm being like, I wonder if I can get away with
I mean, again, working footnotes into a comic is
also, editor's
and
notes. Editor's notes,
and
very classic. Oh,
I do love editor's notes, but these are not editor's notes. These are like
yeah.
footnotes.
Well, and one thing that we do that not everyone we do the next issue thing at the end of
Yeah,
each issue.
I love it.
Okay, I'm glad you love it. Or I'm like because I loved that so much in comics, and I was like, if I'm gonna make a comic, I'm gonna do it.
Have you read any of uh Wes Craig's Kaya?
Mm-mm. All right,
Because
down.
he's got
Yeah.
like the blurb on the front of the. I mean, you get it at
Oh
the
yeah,
back,
yeah, okay, yeah.
but
I'm
then
Right
like,
at
it's
the yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
that kind of gives you the tease.
It's really interesting. I saw that when that first came out. I was like, oh, that's he's like, it's like a blurb that you would like a
Yeah,
eye line like across the top. I thought that was really interesting. I've designed hundreds of magazine covers, and so yeah,
so
I'm
you
really
pay
curious to
attention to
see how
covers.
that.
Is this what you're
What's that?
saying? So you pay attention to covers, is what you're saying.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah.
You
Oh
totally
yeah.
buy comics based on their covers.
So when I graduated college, I kind of was like, I hadn't been out of comics for a while. I stopped reading. And then I went to Midtown Comics Grand Central, and
I met
I was just
Laura.
kind of looking around. Laura was not working there yet.
oh, that's
Uh,
right, because I came in later. I
yeah.
started out at Times Square and later moved to Grand Central. I don't go on with your story.
But I was just walking around and I was just like, I basically just bought stuff based on vibes.
Okay.
And the Ex Machina #2 had just come out. And I was just like, what is this cover? This is crazy. And it's like a red cover with like this with Abraham Lincoln, and there's like a skull instead of his face. And I was
Oh
like, this is
yeah.
I have no idea what this book is or what it's about, but I love this cover. Uh and I bought it. And like that was the book that got me back into comics, that kind of like hooked me back in. And it was all because of just like it was a really cool cover. And so I owe so much of like this whole kind of like comics career and comics involvement because of that series and specifically that book. Uh, yeah.
It's a
And
great
but because it was
series.
so impactful for me, I actually bought the original art for that cover
Oh
uh,
wow.
years ago when I happened to come across it online.
I'm like, did I? Because I don't remember if that was at your place when I first met you, but I definitely remember seeing that and that being like a really iconic thing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
so
I'll buy stuff if it's like a cool cover.
see, I like, and I only have one so far, but it's a David Lapham. I like interior art.
Mm,
I want more interior art
Yeah, I have
yeah.
some Brandon Graham interior art somewhere around here that's really cool. Um,
because I love the storytelling aspect of
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah.
You
I
know, I mean,
love
don't get me
I
wrong,
love
I
trying to
appreciate a
collect.
good cover, but like
That's the only
what
cover I
makes
have. I only
comics to
have
me?
I have interior pages for everything else
Yeah.
that I try to collect. But yeah, I love just trying to buy more art and just embracing art. It's like everyone should be making art, collecting art. Just
I can afford it in their printed form.
yeah. I mean, even just like, in the
The
last year
Lapham
or so,
page
I
I
just
have
started
was a gift.
drawing for myself, just as like a exercise to
Right.
have fun with like art. And
I mean, I get cool sweatshirts because my wife is a printmaker, so she'll take
oh, that's
comics.
cool.
This is Sienkiewicz Jimi Hendrix on my sweatshirt.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
nice. Nice.
Um, but have you actually answered the question, Tim? The thing that you
Oh,
love?
no. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
don't let it
We
go.
went
Hard-hitting
we went
still,
questions.
we went down. Well, see, this is the
it's not like a
one note
super
that I
deep
never
cut.
forget to take.
Oh yeah.
Don't always manage to take notes of the rest of the conversation, but I always, and I
Yeah.
just have Tim loves and nothing. So I was pretty certain
The,
to forget.
I go back to this one and it's not like a super deep cut or anything, but like
Doesn't
when
have
it
to
was
be.
out and I was just reading it like issue to issue, I was just like, it was such a great experience. And I just like was in it and I was just like so excited. And I was just like, oh, I can't wait for this to come out. And it's like, it's hard to kind of replicate that like enthusiasm and excitement. But Death Note, I just
Oh,
love Death Note so much. It's like, and I hadn't had like a lot of manga experience at that time when I've read
I
it.
haven't actually read that
Uh,
one, but my son
I like
has, and he's
every
bitched
volume
at
to volume.
me.
I was just like, "Whoa, when is the next one? This is crazy!" Like, I was just so wrapped up. It was such a great job, um,
Well,
telling
and
like such a story.
when you think
And
about serialized storytelling too, like we definitely tried to do this in Exploit where there's like some type of cliffhanger at the end of every,
yeah, yeah,
issue where it's like there is when certain types of serialized storytelling are done right, there is that excitement of like, what happens next? Can't wait for the next issue. Can't wait for like the next thing to come out. And that's kind of fun, like I know that it can be simpler to like buy and trade and so on and so forth, but like in the same way that you watch a TV show, like you could watch a really long movie, but I think part of the fun of a TV show is you get one installment and you're excited for the next.
What one of the great challenges of making really good comics right now is particularly if you're doing um independent or creator owned is that you're not gonna make any real money until the trade. You're lucky if you, I mean, particularly, I mean, depending, creator owned contracts are nowhere near equal. So some companies give you a little bit of an advance and you give up more of back end or media rights or whatever. And then there's image where you get like nothing, but you get everything. But that also means that like
The
until
DIY
you
factor
sell
is
like,
high. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's like a writer was putting it out on his Patreon recently that like he was doing about 3,000 copies per book after the first one, which nets him about 1,500, of which 700 was going to his colorist because the colorist was paid page rate. So he's essentially doing a comic for, writing and drawing a comic for $800 a month.
Yeah, I mean, we're not in it for the money, I
No, no, no,
would
no.
say.
That's true. But where I'm going to in terms of my point though is that but then you get to resell it as the trade.
Right.
So you sell 3,000 more of the trade, and now that $800 a month is more like $100 a month on the back end. If it actually manages to get into libraries or be something perennial, then it can be not like get rich money, but real money in comic book terms,
Mhm.
right? Um, but that from a creative standpoint, that means that you need to write in such a way that you can be interesting and compelling issue to issue, interesting and compelling collection to collection. If you want, I mean, like Saga is among greatest comic books ever for any number of reasons. But the thing that I always marvel at is that each issue is crafted well as an issue. Each 6 issues are crafted incredibly well as a trade paperback. Each
Yeah.
18 issues are crafted incredibly well as a hardcover. And that 54 issue halfway point was like crafted incredibly well.
Yes.
So, like, the amount of care that had to be put into making it so it would read well in every different way that somebody might come at it is just
Yeah.
like, it
I mean,
makes my brain hurt thinking about it.
I like the feeling in entertainment when you get into it and you're almost like, I can trust this person, and you kind
Yeah.
of give yourself over to it. And then you start realizing that they thought about this.
Mm-hmm.
They planned this, that
Mm-hmm.
feeling of almost like I'm in good hands, of,
Well,
of, of someone of ability, and they're going to take me for a ride, and they've planned this ride, and let's go. I
right.
love that
Yeah.
feel. I just love that feeling of like getting to a point and being like, oh, they were setting up for this a long time ago.
Right.
Like it's all coming together. I think that's such a great feeling. I think
Well,
with
but
X,
also,
I
also, and like Ex Machina is also Brian K. Vaughan, and you had that feeling for it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like we
I think
talk a lot about brilliant creators and like the genius and the muse. What we don't talk enough about, but I like to take the moment to bring up from time to time is the craftsmanship, the understanding how it works enough that okay, I've got my brilliance, but now I'm going to take my brilliance and I'm going to sand it down and I'm going to make certain the craft is there. And for that matter, like particularly with like superhero comics or whatnot, often what's the difference between good superheroes and bad superhero comics is how good of a craftsman the writer is. Because there's so many moving parts, you can't plan years in advance because you're one event away from everything being thrown. So your ability to go, this is a structure. I mean, one of my favorite all-time crime writers is Donald Westbrook, but particularly when he was writing as Richard Stark. But like the Parker books have a very specific formula.
mhm. Yeah, 100%.
But like what makes him brilliant is that he's such a good craftsman that until you suddenly realize it and can't unsee it, and even when you can't unsee it, you're like, oh, it's the formula, and I don't care. It's that like you
It
don't get
still
caught up in
works.
the fact that they're formulaic
Yeah.
because I mean it's kind of like writing that sonnet. Okay, this is how I'm going to structure it. I don't have to spend any time on book structure or comic structure or whatnot. Now I'm going to tell my story. You know, and I think that sometimes is a huge separator between some of the people who we like some of their stuff and the people who like book in, book out. We like everything they do is their ability to work the craft, their ability to look, I know I need to have these things. Or if I choose not to have one of these things, I need to be making that choice. I need to be working around it appropriately. I need to, you know, and I'm just literally thinking out loud right now. So.
One thing that I think, I mean, each exploit issue is constructed as an issue and is fully understandable that way. I think one benefit you'll get from reading it as a trade is just the information's closer together.
Right.
There's a lot going on, and there definitely is stuff that you probably won't realize until the end was
Mm-hmm.
there all
Well, I mean, this,
along.
this, I mean, just going full circle, this takes me back to one of my first comments was like, it was initially jarring, but I thought it was a brilliant decision to have the second issue be essentially a whole separate story. It's like 2 weeks later,
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to the
And
exciting
I think
stuff.
when we were doing that, we were like, wait, it doesn't have to be the next day.
no,
It's like we just, and to your point, I just felt like the care and craft and thought that goes into it, I think one of my biggest takeaways from the experience in the last 6 weeks is just trying to market and sell and publicize the book, even just to my non-comics friends, and me trying to explain, it's like, oh, well, like this is what final order cutoff is, and it's like, oh, you have to like you have to go to a store. It's like we there is a link, but like it'd be great if we could support a local comic store. And they're like, oh, great, so issue two comes out next week, right? And I was like, well, no. And it's like here, and just
The
for
complexity.
for new readers to like comics, like there's a lot of hurdles still,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
comics are not getting cheaper, right? So it's like
Yep.
just really, I think we've been trying to be very
This is where
cognizant
I
of
will
respecting
toss
that
out
experience and respecting
once
the
again
reader. Yeah, to like
that
we
if
want
you
to
don't
make it
have a
worth
comic
it.
shop or your comic shop doesn't have a exploit in it, get yourself a Global Comics subscription for I think $8 a
Yeah.
month. It includes all of Mad Cave Day and Date, so issues 1 and 2 are already available. The third issue will be available the same day it's available in print. I have noticed that like they're not consistent on the time of day, and sometimes they're the next day. So I think there might literally be like the process of somebody sending an email or whatever to make things go live, and it's not 100% automated, but like it's close enough. I always am able to read a Mad Cave book before I record my favorite books of the week Saturday morning.
Awesome.
Very
Um,
convenient.
It is. And like, well, I haven't gotten to talk to anybody at Global Comics. It sounds like the way they've set up their structure is with the streaming stuff, or not streaming, but with the people who are like, because you can buy comics, but there are also comics that fall under the gold membership. But with the gold membership, like they track page hits and then they split up the money from your membership to go page by page to the people whose stuff you actually read.
Oh, that's cool.
You know,
Hmm.
so if you want to game the system and get your buddy read, paid more, because they're both publisher comics and independent comics on the site. Like if you want to get David Walker's got some of his personal stuff up on its own. You want to get David Walker more money, just go and read through it a couple of times.
Why not?
Game the system. I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know specific. I know what they said in the initial press releases way back when they kicked it off. Um, I'm just happy that there are a couple of alternatives to Amazon now since they dismantled Comixology and made it harder to read and much harder to find comics.
That's what comics needed.
Yeah. Yeah. I
To
mean,
to be
Comixology.
more difficult to read and access. That's what the industry was missing.
I mean, Comixology until it was dismantled was brilliant because everything was cross-referenced.
Hmm.
Everything had all of the, it's like I want to see all of the books that are available digitally or lettered by Clem Robbins. Let me click this button, and
Maybe
suddenly
maybe
I've
maybe it was too easy to get comics. They had to
yeah.
make it
No, I mean
harder.
that I mean this is how you know that like the decisions weren't based on comic sales. Like when they rolled Comixology into Kindle, the first thing that went was the part that made it easy to buy more comics.
And like
So even
that's you get
so
to a
even
I do think you get to a point around a lot of tech where you realize, especially when things are owned by companies that are owned by companies that are owned by companies, where it's like they'll do things and it won't matter that it doesn't make sense because it doesn't matter
right.
at all. It's just
No.
like things
Well,
why do
I
they
mean the
happen? They
only thing I can
happen.
figure out is that you like if there's sense to it at all, and I'm not guaranteeing that there was, but if there's sense to it at all, what that means is they weren't selling enough comics to be worth having a different program.
Hmm.
To be
Yeah,
worth maintaining a different program from the Kindle program.
yeah.
Now, I don't know how many programmers it takes to maintain one program. And I certainly think that, but like, I went from like spending 20 to 50 bucks a week just discovering digital comics to only buying the digital comics that I knew that I wanted digital copies of because it was too hard to go just randomly discovering
Yeah.
things. I mean, they
Mm.
probably lost easily $100 a month just from me immediately.
Solution in search of a problem.
Right.
And they found it.
But I mean, the result was, I mean, now we've got three legit players out there. You've got Global Comics, you've got Diana Ichiban, and you've got Sweet just opened up. Um, I still dream of the day where books get the deal that movies got, where if you bought them on one platform, you can have them on all the platforms. Um,
That would make sense.
just because there's kind of an annoyance, particularly because and like we're getting into the weeds, so I should stop recording, but I'll finish this thought and then stop recording. Um, like I feel like I need to kind of play in all of them so that I can talk about them. So I have to like remember which platform am I paying for this book on? Which
Well, and
platform
it's
am I
like,
paying
how do
for
we
that
consume television at this point? I wish I still had cable. I wish I didn't have subscriptions to like six different places and like the content on them is like rearranging and moving or disappearing all the time. I don't love that,
Right,
but that's the financial reality of the system that's been created around us.
right,
It's designed to be inconvenient for
right.
us so that they can squeeze more money out of us to each individual channel.
Yeah, I love the on-demand aspect of it, but I do wish it was way better organized so that like I had a much better feel for what I got where and what was worth spending my money on. But like kind of like buying software rather than renting software, apparently those are quaint thoughts.
Well, yeah, they want to get subscription as a service. Why get someone to pay for something once when you can get them to pay for it every month?
Right.
Um, yeah, and they're gonna, I mean, it's about squeezing every
Well,
last
and
drop of
sometimes
blood
I
out
just
of the
can't
stone.
figure out even the opt like I play Scrabble on an app with my mom, and I would love to get rid of the ads, except that like it's $100 a year to get rid of the ads.
Yeah, and they're
And
counting
it's
on you
like,
eventually getting
no,
annoyed
no,
enough.
I don't want to get rid of the ads $100 a year.
But what if we annoy you more? Hmm? Oh, well, it's like,
Eventually, I'll either stop playing Scrabble on the phone with my mom or find a different game to
well,
play with
but that's the
it.
thing. If you are thinking short term, and a lot of
Right.
these companies, if it's like, wow, we really need to bring up fourth quarter profits.
Oh, I know.
So it's, like, who cares if I mean, they don't care about burning people a lot of the time, unless it
I
becomes a
also think
big PR
we're
thing.
I mean, you at least work around tech. Tim, are you more tech or entertainment? I saw that you had some wired and whatnot on your.
Entertainment,
Okay.
entertainment.
Um,
Although he did work at Wired.
yeah. I'm just like blown away at like more and more it becomes so obvious that there are so many people controlling the money that don't understand how the things that they're paying for actually work.
Nope.
And I wonder what happens when the people doing the programming decide to care.
I mean, the people doing the programming are following instructions from
Right.
bosses who don't understand the thing. But
That's my point.
they went to business school, so they know
Right.
everything maybe.
Right.
That happens a lot in all kinds of
Oh, it
industries. And
does.
then the orders flow down and people have to do stupid things they know will fail.
Hmm.
Um, and hate it. So
Oh yeah. Or get hired on the round of, oh, we're introducing this, and fired on the round of, we're downsizing this. And it's like, wait a minute.
yeah, it's a big issue in the video game industry too, where it's just
Yeah.
like, slashing the staffs in between games. But then you see something like Larian Studios that made Baldur's Gate 2, and they don't behave that way.
Yeah.
And like they produce incredible narratives, and it's like the
Oh,
stability of their team is a part of that. It's the fact that they're not constantly fucking with everyone who works with them.
wait a minute, Laura. You're almost like you seem to be implying that there are examples of how to run companies in ways that aren't predatory towards the workers or the consumers and still successful out there that could be followed. Like, oh, I don't know, McDonald's for a long time, Ford for a long time, fucking Walmart until Sam Walton died.
Yeah, it's not cool. It's not cool to promote, but it is possible.
I have this theory on American corporations, all of the great ones essentially grew up the same way. They started by treating their employees well, and then they had their employees treat their customers well. And then at some point, the founders walked away and the businessmen took over, and everything went to hell in the name of short-term profits.
And you will see this theme and more play out throughout the course of exploit.
Of exploit.
Yeah.
See, there was a reason that I brought it up.
It's all coming
For
full
Tim
circle.
Leong and Laura Hudson, this has been 22 Panels. We will see you after the next page.
Bye-bye.